All right, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us on this webinar. My name is Colin Hubbard, and I'm a marketing associate with DecoNetwork. With us as usual is DecoNetwork consultant and expert, Zach Dewhurst. As a DecoNetwork consultant, Zach uses his 10+ years of experience to help other garment decoration businesses become more efficient and more profitable through the implementation of DecoNetwork and other custom-tailored strategies. For today's webinar, Zach will be talking about how to set up your DecoNetwork Online Designer. Throughout the webinar, if you have any questions for Zach, please feel free to leave those in the questions section. At the conclusion of the webinar, Zach will answer those questions that you submit during our Q&A session. With that said, Zach, are you ready to show everyone how to set up your DecoNetwork Online Designer?
Let's go, Colin. All right, guys, let's talk about the design tool, because we use DecoNetwork for many reasons, whether it be Business Hub or the fact that we have thousands of products integrated with different suppliers. But when it comes to the website, what really attracts decoration shops to using DecoNetwork software, it's the design tool itself and the fact that a customer in real time on their own can put together either a quote request or an order by selecting a blank product and dropping their artwork onto it, and all the different variables that go into calculating the price do, because we've taken the time to configure all of the settings in the background. So today's conversation is going to be how we get the most out of using the online design tool. And there's a lot of different settings throughout the software that you want to take a look at to make sure that you're getting the most out of the tool itself. So before we talk about the design tool on the front end, let's go back to the admin. And it all starts with the decoration processes, because the decoration processes are often going to dictate what we can do on this design tool, especially when it comes to the individual products. When it comes to decoration processes, each process has general settings, tables, production settings, designer settings, your color palette, smart select rules. You can set if the decoration process is available on the websites or just Business Hub, and then what we charge when we have artwork fees. Within the general settings of a decoration process, the main things we have to worry about when it comes to the design tool is what type of file formats we're going to allow. You know, is the customer allowed to upload a raster image or to require a vector because we have to cut it, for example? If you want more detailed settings other than is it a raster or a vector, you can check here, allow all file formats, and then you can choose which file formats are allowed when we're using the designer on the front end of a site, when we're creating a pre-decorated product, or when we're in Business Hub and using it internally. It's important that you don't handcuff yourself too much. Right now I'm on screen printing. Screen printers want vector images. The problem is 9 out of 10 customers don't have a vector, and they don't even understand what a vector image is. So it's a good idea to often accept the majority of file types and then reach out to the customer and charge them an artwork fee when applicable. You know, if somebody's going to place a 1,000-piece t-shirt or screen printed order, I'm not going to charge an artwork fee if they upload a raster image. But I really don't want to prevent them from being able to submit a quote or an order just because we say that it has to be a vector, and the majority of customers just don't have one. Next, we have the production settings. And I'm not too worried about these settings here. These production file output settings is what type of format do we want to download the artwork when we're in Business Hub. What is very important is this production options as far as DPI goes. When a customer uploads artwork onto the design tool, we give the customer feedback based on the quality. So if I come here to add a design, and I'll just choose something random, not a vector. But you can see right here, when I upload the image, I'm getting feedback based on quality. And you can even see I'm being warned. And when I go to click buy, it's going to warn me again. You know, we're telling the customer, hey, this isn't going to look right because it's a bitmap that's been stretched. And if I scale it down, you can see that it gets better. Now, if it's a vector image, it doesn't matter. It's always going to be green. So why am I talking about this DPI? Well, this is what is providing the feedback based on the quality. So if I increased this, for example, to 200 as the minimum DPI, I would not be warning the customer immediately. I would still be saying, yeah, this is in the yellow. But right now it's saying it's in the red because I'm saying, hey, I've got to have a great quality image. And obviously we want higher quality, higher resolution or vectors, but you don't want to scare your customer away, especially when it comes to a lot of the digital printing processes like DTG, wide format, DTF, and there's a lot more play compared to embroidery or screen printing. So when it comes to this minimum DPI, 150 is very standard. If you want to warn the customer earlier on about their quality, lower it maybe down to 100. If you don't want to be warning a customer so much on the design tool, bring it up to around 200. This is often overlooked. Most of the time, you don't need to change the setting, but just know that these parameters are going to influence. And you can see here, when you're giving the customer feedback that their artwork's not good, it's going to warn them quite a bit, and you want to make sure you're not scaring them when you shouldn't. Also within a decoration process, we have the designer settings. And what this allows us to do is choose, are we allowed to add text or team names, or are we going to apply a white underbase when it comes to certain color types? And then you can choose what all we can do within the advanced text settings and image settings. So if I'm using cut vinyl, for example, I don't want to allow a gradient. For screen printing, some shops do, some shops don't. So it's always a good idea to look at each of these settings. You're not changing them very often, but it's very simple to just uncheck a couple things, and then you're not promising the customer the impossible when they're on the online design tool. The color palettes for each decoration process is exactly what it sounds like. When I'm adding text or designs, I am going to be asked, what color do I want it to be? Now, for digital printing processes, we can print virtually any color. But if it's screen printing or embroidery, we typically have standard colors available. And you want to make sure you establish a color palette that reflects what spool colors you have on the shelf for embroidery or what inks you have for screen printing. The Smart Select rules is not confusing, but is often overlooked. The Smart Select rules allow us to essentially set the parameters of what materials can be decorated using that process. So I'm on screen printing, for example. I would screen print 90-20, 80-20 blends, 70-30. A lot of these need to be checked in my case. And what these Smart Select rules are doing is they're allowing us to determine what blank products by default can be decorated using this decoration process. And as I check more boxes, you'll see these numbers will update in which it'll add a lot more products or it'll remove products based on if I say that decoration process can take that blend. So again, just like all of these settings, come in here, make sure that it is aligned with how you decorate for that process. Lastly, we have artwork fees. Now, an artwork fee is definitely going to be applied for embroidery anytime the customer uploads a non-EMB embroidery file, which will be 99% of the time. If they just add text, we don't hit them with a digitizing or an artwork fee. Do know that most of these processes, we don't hit the customer with an artwork fee by default. If the customer uploads something really bad and then we need to hit them with an artwork fee, we'll contact them after the fact. That's just how it is. I don't want to be scaring customers for uploading a bitmap for screen printing when if it's a high resolution and one color, I don't even have to vectorize it half the time. So it's important to not scare your customer with assigning an artwork fee. What you can do is you can check it, but not automatically charge the customer a fee. And what that'll do is that will make the order go through the artwork approval stage of Business Hub. And that way your art department is going to look at what all artwork was uploaded by the customer and either give the thumbs up or thumbs down, and then it has to be vectorized or digitized before it goes into production. Again, to recap the decoration process area, set what file formats can be used in the general settings, and as well what processes can be mixed when you're in the design tool. You know, if you want to be able to have embroidery on the left chest and a full chest print, technically you just have to check yes, screen printing can work with embroidery. And if I check it here, it gets checked there. Within the production settings, I can set the minimum and maximum parameters as far as artwork feedback. Within the designer settings, I can choose what can be done to text and designs. Within the color palettes, I can determine what colors are available for that process when using the design tool. The Smart Select rules will automatically say that, hey, these materials can be decorated using those processes, and the artwork fee is primarily for digitizing. If you want to charge them for a vector fee, you want to have that checked. Okay, now we're going to go on to the next section. The design tool has a lot of different settings, a lot of different places. So next we're going to go into the products. Because what are we doing on the design tool? We're selecting a product and we're adding text or artwork. So it comes down heavily to how the products are set up. And when it comes to the products, the first thing you want to look at are the decoration areas. Within the decoration areas, it is the default areas of where we can add artwork for each process. So if I come here into adult tops, you'll see at the top I have all the different decoration processes listed. And then here on the left, I have my decoration views. And I can determine what process can be used for each view area, and then what that size represents. So for example, maybe I don't offer sublimation onto apparel. I need to uncheck this. It is important that you make sure your default parameters and settings here are exactly the way you want them to be, because a good portion of setting up DecoNetwork is often making sure that the correct areas and processes are configured for the blank products. And before we start configuring individual products, I want to make sure that these default decoration areas are set up exactly the way they should be. Let's go back to the general list of products. When you sign up for DecoNetwork, you typically come in here to select catalog and you choose what suppliers you use. And after you do that, we have a lot of products added. In this case, I have over 2,500. Now, Deco has a great product filter tool. And if I wanted to list 2,500 products on the website, I absolutely could. What I would recommend is whittling the product mix down to the core 80% of what is demanded products. If you're a print and embroidery shop, that's typically around 200 to 300 products. If you go to customink.com, they don't offer 2,500 products. They offer between 200 and 300. They don't want to overwhelm their customers with too many options. So it's a good idea to go in to each product you want to offer on your website and give it a quick polish to make sure that it's easy to be found and it can deliver an accurate proof and price. For example, right now, I probably have over 150 t-shirts out of these 2,500. That's hard for the customer to select what t-shirt they should be using for their order. So how we organize our products is we just sort or do a search, take the Gildan 2000, and you want to make sure you select the correct supplier. And the main thing I want to point out is this views and decoration areas. It is very important. Everything we do on the design tool comes down to these areas and what processes can be used, configured here. And remember, between the smart select rules and the decoration processes, and then the default decoration areas are going to set up this on the product. Now this is the Gildan 2000. It's a very popular product. It's 100% cotton. Half of the shops I talk to offer embroidery on a cheap t-shirt. The other half don't. So I don't want embroidery on. I'm going to take it off. I don't want rhinestone. I don't want transfer. I want the customer to add a one-off DTF, DTG, and bulk screen printing. That's how I want to decorate this product. So now I'm not promising the impossible, and I'm not misleading the customer as to what it's going to look like. Secondly, I want to make sure my areas are optimal on the products. If I'm looking at this, it's pretty far down from the collar. This is pretty low on the back. If this is one of my most popular products, it makes a lot of sense to click on this gear, click Allow Custom Decoration Area, and move the decoration area to where I want it. This is a one-time configuration. You do this and the product will work better, and on your main website, on your affiliate websites, and Business Hub. Everything revolves around selecting a blank product and adding artwork to it. And if this area or a process isn't properly configured, you're not going to be able to do what you need, or your customers won't be able to do it on your website. So again, on the back, I think I'm too low. Click Allow. Move myself where I want to be. I can also add a new area. For example, I like to add the collar back, or I can define my own. I'll call it the yoke. So many different names for it. Designate a size. And then put it where I need on the product. Take the time to make sure your most popular products are optimally configured and the whole software will work much better. Everything revolves around selling and quoting products with artwork on them. You have to have these areas properly configured for the design tool to work the way you need it to. After you organize your products, it is important that you as well sort their order. The products that are listed at the top of each category, or the default product on the online design tool, comes down to the list order of the products. So what Deco allows us to do is we can sort what products are listed at the top for each category, or again, even the default product when on the design tool. So you just have to come here to sort, and then you can change the list order. This is very important because a lot of customers will buy the products that are listed at the top. They think that is the most popular and the one that they should use. So push them to the most popular products. Okay, so that's the product section. Now, let's talk about the global designer settings. And if you are not on the premium or the enterprise plan, if you go into your site, you will see those settings here in the designer settings. One thing Deco allows us to do is we can choose if we want the affiliate sites to be able to customize the designer settings or not. So you can see right here, I can choose, no, they can't. They have to follow my rules I set here as the fulfillment center. And these global designer settings are pretty straightforward. I do like to start with advanced options expanded. So for like text, do I want to warp it? Do I want to outline it? It's more obvious that it's possible by having that checked. When it comes to design, do I want to put a border or a grayscale, something like that? Let's see what else is cool. I like to automatically zoom into the area when I click. If you do a lot of printing onto wide format or sublimation, a lot of those designs are image and photo based. So you might want to enable allow designs to be added from Instagram and Facebook. And if the customer's logged into one of those social media profiles, they can upload directly from them. This has been available for years. The key is not most apparel products don't have a photo on them. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but the non-apparel products, this is definitely a good idea to have checked. And here is a newer feature that I highly suggest you do check. Uncheck show not available decoration processes. Why do you want to check that? Well, let's say I'm going to add a texture design. You see how it shows all these different things that I can't do? Well, if I come back to that setting and I uncheck show not available and I click save, do it twice. You have to. It doesn't save the first time. It's the only setting in the software I have to do that twice. Uncheck that, and I'll just refresh this and we'll add a piece of artwork, and you're only going to see the decoration processes that are possible for this product. It's not going to show me everything I can't do. See? It's just a little setting buried within the software. The software is very robust, a lot of different moving pieces, a lot of different places. But again, a lot of this, you're only going to set one time, and you're not updating this all the time. You're just configuring it and letting the software do the work. Global font management. It's exactly what it sounds like. We can choose to turn off available fonts for each process, and all of the printing processes, essentially everything but embroidery, you can even add additional fonts. And you can even make this possible within a site where sites can upload their own fonts if they want. It's just a TTF file. I think that's what it's called. What I see more than anything is within the printing fonts, if I'm cutting vinyl, I don't want a bunch of, tiny cursive or difficult fonts to cut. I want to very much so limit what team names text can be used, typically full block or freshman, college, all-star, something that the customer is going to want to use for sports. When it comes to embroidery, this is where I really see the font management need to be used. So I can click on Manage Available Fonts. You have to be patient. This does take a second to load. And I don't have patience ever. But you can see now I can choose to turn off my available fonts, and there's definitely some cursives in here that I don't want any part of. And I don't need every font under the sun. Often less is more. So do know that you can narrow down the available fonts, and you can set your default, which again is very important. Customers are often going, if they're using text for names and whatnot, they're going to use the most common, the first name, first text font that you throw out them most of the time. Okay, so these are the global designer settings. And again, remember, you can make it so that you can change those settings from website to website and access them within the website itself and designer settings. It's the exact same settings. Okay, how about we actually go to the website and play with the design tool itself. So within the website pages, we come over here to pages and we have our designer tool. So there's obviously the designer page, but what the tool really is, it's a widget specific to just this one page. I can't use this widget anywhere else. It is just the widget on this page. And we edit it like a lot of our other widgets. I can change the background. I can change the layout if it's aligned left, center, or right. The main settings though are going to be right here. Full screen options. So right now I'm in full screen mode. What that means is we don't have a header at the top. So I like to take us out of full screen mode on most devices. I think that it often makes it feel like I'm on a totally different site, and I don't want that. And a lot of sites who have online design tools, they kind of are hacking it together and using the design tool on a different platform. So I want it to all feel seamless that it's on one site. So I take it out of full screen mode most of the time. Loading behavior. So we can choose, is the default decoration process that we choose just the cheapest, or do we want to just leave it as is? I typically don't mess with this. Get started pop-up. So if I come back here, let's refresh. I haven't saved anything yet, so it's still going to be full screen mode. This is the get started pop-up. If I want to change the message up top, I can, or I can choose to hide it, which a lot of people prefer to do. You have to check here first, uncheck show get started, save. I'm not in the preview mode, so that's very important that you make sure you're in preview unless you're publishing. So let's go back to preview. And you'll see we're no longer in full screen mode, and we're not going to have that get started pop-up when we land on here. Boom. Again, just quick settings. We're not changing these all the time. Quote link. Absolutely. The next best thing to a customer placing an order is requesting a quote. I definitely want them to be able to do that. What that'll do is down here, it'll add this little $sign where the customer can decide to request a quote. The save, it's a floppy disk. Not sure how many people these days know what those are, but that allows us to save the design to our profile. We can add it to our cart, we can preview the design, and we can even email it to another individual who we're collaborating with, and they can edit the design and we're updated with their updates. Product. Do we want to show the product code? Do we want to show the full description? Very straightforward. Design. We can choose if there's a default category, or if we want to go to stock designs or store designs when the customer selects add design. Buttons, all the different buttons and links up top, Deco has made it very easy for us to change what the text is or what we're calling it, and we can even upload our own icons, which is really cool. Help pop-up. So again, down here you see these different links. If I click show help pop-up, it adds this little question mark. Refresh. Click here. We have this help pop-up. Essentially, it's a long rolling images. You could even upload your own video if you would want. When it comes to the help pop-up, it is a commercial term. So if you're going to configure it, you're actually going to be all the way back down here in settings and then go into the commercial terms, and then you'll see designer pop-up and you can edit it. Let's actually go back there because there's a couple different settings. So back here again, settings, commercial terms, online designer and help. So here's the online designer help that I just showed. You can also edit the no items designer pop-up message, the designer intro message, which I turned off a couple minutes ago, and then as well the copyright pop-up. So whenever the customer uploads artwork, they have to verify that yes, they have the rights to it, and we can override that content if we need to. Okay, let's see what else we have. Screen colors pop up. We can choose to override this. This is primarily just for screen printing. With screen printing, we count colors, and we have a little bar at the bottom of the design tool that'll tell the customer how many colors are in their artwork, and ultimately that's affecting the price. Now, what's beautiful about the design tool is it's 100% responsive. So it doesn't matter what size device I'm in, it's going to format itself to work awesome. Something else I like to do, since I'm not in full screen mode, I am going to change or at least add some extra content. I just want to hide these breadcrumbs at the top. And what I like to do is I like to add my own row. I'm going to make it 4 columns. I'm going to add a heading. I'm going to give the customer some direction. 1, select product. And I've done this once or twice. These headings that I'm going to add work great on everything but a phone. It's just too much on a phone. So I'm going to hide it on the phone, my heading. And look, I can select a product from right there. Let's clone it. Step 2, add text or designs. Step 3, select sizes. And this is definitely not the most obvious thing, that they have to click on quantity to then input their sizes and ultimately determine what the final price is going to be. I'm going to align this right. And step 4, again, I want this to work well on every type of device. So on all of these, you can see, even on a tablet, we're going to let the customer know what the simple steps are to designing a product. You got to select a product, you then add your artwork, you select your sizes, you add it to the cart. Those are the steps to placing an order using our design tool. Save. The color scheme of the design tool is not obvious where you edit this. It's within Design, Style Editor, and at the very bottom, I can edit the color scheme here. So let's just put in something custom. Use my blue. And let's say I want this button color to be something different. It's very simple. You can add custom code to the design tool and edit the way it looks and acts. It's just tremendously difficult. It's more of a developer skill set than anything else. But if you just change the color scheme, you give the customer some simple directions, and you organize your products, it's going to work a lot better than just using some of the default settings if you haven't gone through them. Remember, every decoration shop is different in how they decorate with each process. Like I said, a lot of shops will embroider t-shirts, a lot of shops won't. So you really have to go in and make those configuration settings. Don't assume that DecoNetwork knows exactly how you want to decorate each product using each process. It's not possible. We're all different. If automation isn't going to get you the perfect results, if you take the time to organize the products and go through the settings that Deco has created, you're going to be able to reach more of the full potential using the software. And lastly, let's go demo actually how to use this thing. Let's go to preview. So again, step 1, you got to select a product. And I much rather prefer the customer select a product from the product page first before being taken directly to the design tool. I like to put the horse before the carriage. Yes, we can sort through the products from here, but using the filter tool on the product page is much easier, in my opinion, for the customer. Let's say they can come here. I can then click on change product, and I have mine organized, but if I come here entire catalog, then I can start seeing something I want to decorate. I'm going to actually go with my Gildan 5000. So select the product. You can see here I didn't actually edit the decoration area. So if I'm a customer, my artwork is not going to look centered if I add it and I hit the center button. It's going to definitely look too far to the left. So I'm going to add design. Let's add an embroidery design. Because remember, embroidery, they're never going to have artwork that is embroidery ready. It's just not going to happen very often. Let me upload. I should have had something better. Oh, look, my driver's license. Let's go ahead and upload this. This is a non-EMB file. You can see that it's saying, hey, we're going to charge you a digitizing fee. And when it comes to embroidery, we're estimating how many stitches are going to be necessary to sew this artwork based on the size of the artwork. Okay, and we're going to hit them with the digitizing fee. Now, you're probably asking yourself, how do we determine how many stitches are in an area, such as in a square centimeter area or a square inch? And this is not obvious. I should have kind of hit it earlier. Sorry, I didn't. But if I come back to the decoration processes, I come down here to decoration pricing. Decoration pricing is a summary of what table we're using for each process for each price level. It is also where I can apply screen setup fees and what the default stitch count and approximate stitches per square inch. So for every square inch that the artwork takes up, we're saying there's approximately 1,000 square inches. If you typically stitch more than that, or if you want to overcompensate, you might, bump this up to 1,200 or 1,500. And that's going to tell the customer by default that their artwork is going to have a lot more stitches than if we leave it at 1,000. So this, more than anything, is your stitch density. And when the customer uploads their artwork, it obviously is taking up so much area, and then it's calculating approximately how many stitches and charging the customer a price. I can't remember. I don't think I saved it. See, I didn't save that we could mix processes. So again, if I wanted to allow embroidery to be mixed with screen printing, I would need to come into one of the two. Come down here, they can be mixed. And by checking it there, it's going to be checked in screen printing as well. Now, obviously, it wouldn't work until I refresh. Customer can easily change a different area. And if it's a different area at that point, they can use a different process. Example text. Remember, available color. I chose screen printing. I want them to choose from my palette, not have an infinite amount of colors to choose from. If I add text for a digital print process, I don't remember if I configured this way. Yep, I have it so the color slider is enabled, and that allows me to print any color the customer wants to use. Select the artwork. These are your advanced options. So position and size. So I could rotate, I could flip, effects, I can warp it, I can give it an outline, a lot of different things. It's a miniature Photoshop. I can zoom in, I can hide the decoration area, I can select all, I can paste, I can view the different layers, I can undo and redo. Now, something else to keep in mind, businesses and just a lot of large orders, customers not going to always use the design tool. Don't think because the customer didn't use the design tool that you didn't get an order out of them. The design tool is not meant for everyone. In my experience, consumers love to play with this. A lot of businesses like to be catered to, and they don't want to have to try to learn this tool. They're going to email you, hey, this is what I need. This is what I'm looking for. And if you don't put together a custom quote for them, your competition will. So the design tool is awesome. It takes your website to the next level, but if orders aren't necessarily always going through it, it doesn't mean your customers didn't come to the site, look at what all you do, your product mix, and the fact that you do have the right software to run your business, and then are requesting quotes or placing orders. All right, Colin, I think that's a great stopping point. Hopefully this all made sense, because again, just as a final recap, we have settings within the designer page / widget. We can change the way that it looks within the style editor. Within the actual admin itself, I need to configure the decoration processes, specifically what file types can be used. The production output, minimum and maximum DPI is going to give the customer feedback based on artwork. The designer settings are obvious. What colors can be used for that process on the design tool. The Smart Select rules are going to set our defaults as to what materials can be decorated using that process, using the design tool, and then when we charge an artwork fee. Within the products, you definitely want to set your default decoration areas, and I can't recommend enough that I would highly recommend, I can't stress it enough, I keep saying that, and that is to whittle down a large mix, in this case 2,500, to what is demanded 80 to 90% of the time. I don't want to overwhelm the majority of my customers trying to satisfy everybody. My goal is to satisfy around 80 to 90% of what is demanded through the site. Everything else has to be quoted. And then lastly, within the websites, we have our actual global designer settings and global font management. All of these different settings are more of a set one time and you're not continuously updating. So get them right. Test the design tool just like you would as a customer. Come onto your site, try to design something, and get feedback from your customers and make changes from there. Hopefully this all makes sense. Again, if you have questions on how to get the most of the design tool, or really if you're ever scratching your head, one, raise a support ticket. Client services is there to answer questions and help you work through problems. If you can't figure out where a certain setting is, you can always search, you can always raise a support ticket. The worst thing that this support team will tell you is this is outside of the scope of client services. And at that point, you're reaching out to me at Deco Experts, and then I can help you push the software and mold it around your needs of your business.
Of course, if anybody has any questions that they think of at a later time, hop over to our Facebook users group and post in there. Comment on our YouTube video when we get this posted, and we'll definitely answer any other questions you may have. But as always, Zach, we can't thank you enough for hopping on here and talking about the online designer. I know you are probably the best person to talk to when it comes to this type of stuff. You are an expert for a reason. So again, we really thank you for setting this up and hopping on here and letting our attendees know about how to set up an online designer.
Thanks, Colin. The software, I've wielded it for a decade. It's intuitive to me, but it's just important that the listeners realize Deco uses a lot of logic, and they listen to the users of the software. If you have questions, like you said, go to the Facebook group, search up here, or raise a support ticket. That's why client service is there. Don't give up on the software. Don't pull out your hair if you're not using the tools that Deco has given to you, because this is robust and it's kind of complicated at times, but Deco's not a brand new company. They've worked out a lot of what we have told them, hey, we need this capability. And as long as you get those settings right, you're going to be smooth sailing.